According to a court affidavit filed in the case, he had suffered blunt force trauma to the head, he'd been stabbed, and his right thumb had been cut off.
Welcome to Urban Crime Stories. In this episode, we will examine 3 Honeytrap murder cases more people should know about. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications so that you will not miss any upcoming episodes. Number 1. The tragic story of Shakilis Townsend. Shakilis Townsend, a 16-year-old boy from Croydon, United Kingdom, was known by friends and family as a kind-hearted and caring individual. He had a deep sense of loyalty and affection for those close to him. Despite his youth, Shakilis had a dreamer's heart and longed for love, which he thought he found when he met Samantha Joseph. Their relationship was only a month old, but Shakilis quickly became infatuated with her. He believed Samantha was the one for him and, without hesitation, shared with his mother that he wanted to marry her one day. His love was pure, driven by his hopeful and trusting nature. Unfortunately, Shakilis's feelings for Samantha were not reciprocated in the same way. While he was pouring his heart into the relationship, Samantha Joseph had different intentions. Behind Shakilis's back, Samantha remained deeply fixated on her older boyfriend, Danny McLean. Although she accepted Shakilis's attention and gifts, her heart and loyalty were still with Danny. Samantha used Shakilis, manipulating his feelings for her while keeping her true desires hidden. She confided in her friends, admitting that she didn't care for Shakilis and only viewed him as a tool, something she could use to her advantage. Despite Samantha's manipulative behavior, Shakilis remained completely unaware. He was utterly smitten, even oblivious to the fact that Samantha was playing a dangerous game with both him and Danny. His deep affection made him blind to the warning signs, and he continued to shower her with love and gifts, hoping that one day she would feel the same way about him. His desire for her was so intense that he ignored any hint that she might be using him, choosing instead to believe in the image of the relationship he had built in his mind. Danny McLean, a prominent member of the violent gang known as Shine My Nine, or SMN, ended his relationship with Samantha when he discovered she had been seeing Shakilis Townsend. Despite their breakup, Samantha's obsession with Danny never faded. She was willing to do anything to regain his affection, even at the cost of betraying Shakilis, who was deeply in love with her. Danny, fully aware of the power he had over Samantha, exploited her desperation. He told her that if she truly loved him and wanted to win him back, she had to set up Shakilis, ensuring his downfall. Samantha, eager to please Danny, agreed without hesitation, sealing Shakilis's fate. The tension between Shakilis's devotion and Samantha's manipulation came to a head on Thursday, July 3, 2008. This day marked a turning point in Shakilis's life, a day that shattered the illusions he had about Samantha and his relationship with her. He had no idea that Samantha had devised a plan with Danny, a plan that would lead to an act of betrayal so brutal that it would cost him his life. Shakilis, trusting and full of love, could never have anticipated the storm that was about to hit. On the day of the tragic event, CCTV footage captured Samantha meeting Shakilis. She wore a see-through floral dress, a deceptive appearance that hid her true intentions. To anyone watching, they seemed like a typical young couple, laughing and enjoying each other's company. Shakilis had no idea that Samantha had orchestrated the events of that day with Danny. The two boarded a bus together, with Shakilis believing they were on their way to meet Samantha's cousin. Throughout the journey, Samantha remained in secret communication with Danny via her cell phone, updating him and coordinating the ambush that was to come. Shakilis, in his trusting nature, was completely unaware of the deadly trap being set for him. Samantha skillfully led Shakilis to a quiet cul-de-sac, a secluded area perfect for what was about to happen. She continued to play the role of a loving girlfriend, masking her betrayal with ease. But instead of meeting her cousin as Shakilis expected, he was ambushed by Danny and 5 members of the SMN gang. The attack was swift and brutal. Armed with baseball bats and knives, the gang showed no mercy. Shakilis was beaten savagely with the bats, and in the chaos, Danny and his gang members stabbed him repeatedly. The betrayal was complete. Shakilis had walked into the trap Samantha and Danny had set, unaware that the person he loved had delivered him to his attackers. Shakilis was stabbed 6 times, leaving him mortally wounded. As he lay on the ground, bloodied and battered, The gravity of the betrayal and his impending death began to sink in. In his final moments, Shaquilas, still just a boy of 16, cried out for his mother. His last words were filled with fear and desperation. "I don't want to die." His voice echoed in the empty street, a heartbreaking plea that no one was there to answer. The image of Shaquilas, lying helpless and alone, calling out for the person who had always protected him. After the attack, the coldness of Samantha Joseph's actions became even more apparent. As Shaquilas Townsend lay dying in the street, she showed no remorse or guilt for the betrayal she had orchestrated. Instead, CCTV footage captured her walking away from the scene alongside Danny, as if nothing had happened. She casually carried his hoodie in a cream-colored handbag, which was stained with Danny's blood, a reminder of the savage violence that had just unfolded. Danny had sustained a minor injury during the brutal attack, but Samantha remained focused on him, acting as though the life they had just taken was of no consequence. Shaquilas Townsend succumbed to his injuries on July 4th, 2008, a day after the brutal attack. Despite being rushed to the hospital, the severity of his wounds was too much for the 16-year-old to survive. His death marked the tragic end of a young life filled with love, dreams, and a belief in a future that was stolen from him. The community mourned the loss of a boy who had been betrayed by those he trusted, and the senseless violence of gang culture that had claimed yet another victim. In the months that followed, justice was served for Shaquilas. Samantha Joseph, Danny McClain, and 5 other gang members, including Andre Thompson and the Ellis brothers, were found guilty of murder. Their participation in the premeditated ambush and savage attack on Shaquilas led to heavy sentences. Danny, the orchestrator of the plan, was sentenced to a minimum of 15 years in prison for his role as the leader of the gang that took Shaquilas' life. His manipulation of Samantha and the brutal way in which the attack was carried out highlighted his cold, calculating nature. Several other gang members also received lengthy prison sentences for their involvement. Andre Johnson Haynes, a former public school boy and promising London Irish rugby player, was sentenced to a minimum of 12 years in prison. Brothers Tyrell Ellis and Don Carlos Ellis, along with Michael Akinfenwa, also received 12-year sentences for their part in the attack. The sentencing of these young men, all from different walks of life, revealed how deeply the culture of gang violence had infiltrated their lives, leading them to commit acts that would destroy not only their own futures, but the life of an innocent boy. Samantha Joseph, who had been the key to luring Shaquilas into the ambush, was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Her role in the betrayal, despite her young age, showed a willingness to go to deadly lengths to gain the approval of Danny. After serving her sentence, she was freed in 2019 and deported to her native country of Trinidad. The legal system's handling of her case left many questioning whether justice had truly been served, as the mother of Shaquilas grappled with the pain of knowing her son's killer had been released after a decade. Andre Thompson, another key member of the gang, was sentenced to a minimum of 14 years in prison, a term that was later reduced to 13 years and 3 months. His involvement in the murder, like the others, underscored the devastating consequences of gang allegiance and violence. Though all involved were brought to justice, the sentences could never repair the damage done. For Shaquilas' family, the pain of his loss, coupled with the betrayal that led to his death, would remain a constant reminder of the tragedy that unfolded on July 3, 2008. Number 2, the murder of Saul Murray. In the early hours of February 27, 2022, Saul Murray, a 33-year-old father of 6 from Luton, United Kingdom, was found dead in his Luton flat, with his body bearing multiple stab wounds. What began as a night of excitement and allure quickly spiraled into tragedy as 2 women, drawn to Saul's vibrant online persona, lured him into a deadly honey trap. As the investigation unfolded, the community was left grappling with the shocking betrayal that led to Saul's tragic end. Known for his vibrant personality, Saul lived life to the fullest, often sharing moments from his daily life on social media. His profiles displayed a keen interest in fashion, frequently showcasing his affinity for well-known brands. These posts painted a picture of a man who enjoyed the spotlight and appreciated the finer things in life. However, it was this very visibility that drew the attention of 2 young women who devised a scheme to ensnare him in a honey trap. Captivated by his lifestyle and charm, they aimed to exploit his online persona for their own gain. Under the guise of friendship, they reached out to Saul, hoping to lure him into a situation he never anticipated. Their intentions were far from innocent, as they crafted an elaborate ruse designed to pull him into their web. Surpreet Dillon, a 36-year-old from Gillingham, and her 21-year-old accomplice, Temidayo Al, had their sights set on Saul Murray after noticing his extravagant lifestyle showcased on Instagram, particularly the eye-catching photos of his Rolex watches. Intrigued by the allure of his wealth, they initiated contact with him, exchanging friendly messages that eventually led to sharing their telephone numbers. Saul, drawn in by their charm, extended an invitation for the two women to visit him at his home in Luton late on February 26, 2022, unaware that their interest in him was far from genuine. The evening of their meeting began with an air of excitement as the women traveled to Luton, both eager and scheming. As they entered Saul's home, captured on CCTV cameras, they presented themselves as friendly visitors ready for an enjoyable evening. Once inside, they shared liquor, engaging in lighthearted conversation and flirtatious exchanges that quickly escalated into intimate activities. For Saul, it seemed like a dream come true, a chance encounter with two captivating women. However, the reality was far more sinister, as Surpreet and Temidayo had come up with a premeditated plan to exploit his trust. As the evening progressed, Dillon discreetly slipped GHB, a date rape drug, into Saul's drink, intending to incapacitate him for their thieving plot. Although the drug was meant to render him unconscious, the quantity used proved insufficient, leaving Saul still aware of his surroundings. This unforeseen complication prompted Temidayo to make a critical decision. Sensing that their scheme was in jeopardy, she quickly left the house to fetch two other accomplices who could help execute their plan more effectively. While Temidayo was away, Surpreet remained in the house with Saul, attempting to maintain an air of normalcy despite the escalating tension. The minutes stretched into an eternity as she navigated the precarious situation, carefully balancing her act of feigned interest in Saul while mentally preparing for the arrival of her partners in crime. With each passing moment, the risk of discovery grew, creating a palpable tension that loomed over the evening. Approximately 20 minutes after Temidayo left, two men were captured on CCTV entering Saul's property, marking a significant turning point in the unfolding events. The footage showed the men entering with a sense of purpose, a stark contrast to the seemingly casual atmosphere that had filled the home moments before. Just 10 minutes later, the two women were seen leaving the premises together, a hurried exit that hinted at the gravity of the situation inside. As the camera panned, one of the men was clearly visible, brandishing a knife, a chilling indication of the violent intentions that had now entered the fray. The scene had shifted dramatically from a night of flirtation and trust to one of impending danger. The two women, having initiated this deadly chain of events, now found themselves part of a much darker narrative. The following day, Saul was discovered in his flat, lifeless. Authorities determined that he had died as a result of heavy bleeding from a stab wound that had pierced a vital artery. The gruesome reality of his demise sent shockwaves through the community, revealing the hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface of seemingly innocuous encounters. The investigation that ensued would uncover not only the circumstances of his death, but also the nefarious activities that led to it. Forensic tests conducted on Saul's body revealed that both Temidayo Abu and Surpreet Dillon had engaged in sexual contact with him shortly before his death. This shocking detail added another layer of complexity to the case, indicating that the women had not only exploited Saul's trust, but had also played a direct role in the tragic events that unfolded that night. Moreover, high levels of GHB were found in his blood, confirming that the drug had been administered during the evening, further complicating the timeline of events. This combination of sexual assault and violence pointed to a calculated plan that had spiraled out of control, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Temidayo and Surpreet were the first suspects arrested in connection with Saul Murray's tragic death. During intense questioning, both women denied any knowledge of the two hooded men who had entered the apartment shortly after their departure. Their refusal to explain or provide details raised suspicions, leading investigators to dig deeper into the circumstances surrounding the case. To unravel the mystery further, police utilized GPS information to track down the unidentified men who had fled the scene in a vehicle. Their efforts quickly led to the arrest of 29-year-old Cleon Brown, who was identified as one of the individuals connected to the incident. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the web of deception and violence extended beyond just the two women, highlighting a larger conspiracy. The breakthrough in the case came when investigators spotted the second suspect, who wore a distinctive designer coat valued at 1,300 British pounds at takeaway food shop just days prior to Saul's death. This detail proved crucial in identifying him as 31-year-old Ikim Afia, who was also apprehended shortly thereafter. The coat became a key piece of evidence, linking Afia to the crime scene and reinforcing the connection between all parties involved. As the arrests were made, the grim narrative of betrayal and violence continued to unfold. The authorities faced a complex case involving multiple suspects, each with their own motives and stories. The investigation now centered on piecing together the events leading up to Saul's death, seeking justice for a man whose life was taken too soon. Ikim Afia was ultimately convicted of murder, receiving a life sentence with a minimum term of 25 years. His role in the brutal attack that led to Saul Murray's death was deemed particularly heinous, reflecting the severity of the crime and the impact it had on Saul's family and community. Afia's conviction marked a pivotal moment in the pursuit of justice, bringing a measure of closure to a tragic case that had captured public attention. Cleon Brown, Ikim's accomplice, was handed an 11-year prison sentence for his involvement in the events that transpired that fateful night. While his role was less direct than Afia's, the court recognized that he played a significant part in the conspiracy that led to Saul's untimely demise. In a separate but related outcome, Temidayo Aw faced a mixed verdict in her trial. She was sentenced to 7 years for manslaughter and an additional 6 years for conspiracy to commit robbery to run concurrently. Despite being involved in the events that led to Saul's death, she was found not guilty of murder, reflecting the complexities of her involvement in the case. Surpreet Dillon received a similar sentence, with the court handing her 10 years for manslaughter and another 10 years for conspiracy to commit robbery, also to run concurrently. Like Aw, Dillon's role in the tragic events was acknowledged, but the jury ultimately differentiated between manslaughter and murder in their deliberations. Number 3, the disturbing case of Fasil Teklemariam. In early April 2024, 53-year-old Fasil Teklemariam was brutally murdered in his Washington, D.C. apartment. The Metropolitan Police responded to a report of a stabbing, discovering Fasil's body with multiple injuries, including a missing right thumb. As details emerged, it was revealed that Tiffany Gray, a 22-year-old woman who had benefited from Fasil's generosity, and her accomplice were behind the heinous act, exploiting his trust in a calculated plan for financial gain. Fasil was known among his community for his calm demeanor and generous spirit. Described as an easygoing man, Fasil had a reputation for being kind-hearted and always willing to lend a helping hand. His generosity extended beyond his immediate circle, and one person who particularly benefited from his giving nature was Tiffany Gray, a 22-year-old woman. Fasil was known to be her sugar daddy, frequently spending money on her and showering her with gifts, creating a relationship built on financial support and companionship. Tiffany enjoyed the luxuries that Fasil provided, and their relationship was well known among those who were close to them. Fasil, though significantly older, seemed content in his role, always willing to fulfill Tiffany's needs and desires. Despite their unconventional arrangement, there appeared to be no tension or conflict between the two, and Fasil's life carried on peacefully. However, what many didn't realize was that beneath the surface of this seemingly smooth relationship, things were about to take a darker turn. In early April 2024, Fasil's life took an unexpected turn, shattering the semblance of peace he had cultivated. On what started as an ordinary day for him, soon spiraled into a series of events that would ultimately alter the course of his life. The tranquility that Fasil was known for vanished, and in its place came confusion, fear, and uncertainty. As the day unfolded, it became clear that something was terribly wrong. On April 5, 2024, the Metropolitan Police Department responded to a chilling report of a stabbing in Washington, D.C. Upon entering Fasil Teklemariam's apartment, officers were met with a harrowing scene. Fasil lay lifeless in his bedroom, the victim of a brutal assault. He was discovered with multiple traumatic injuries, most notably a missing right thumb, a detail that would become pivotal in unraveling the mystery surrounding his death. The subsequent autopsy revealed the full extent of the violence he had endured, including severe blunt force fractures to his skull, numerous lacerations, and a stab wound. Additional cuts on his legs and the gruesome amputation of his right thumb painted a horrifying picture of the circumstances leading to his demise. As investigators meticulously combed through the crime scene, they uncovered evidence suggesting attempts had been made to sanitize the area, indicating a deliberate effort to conceal or destroy incriminating evidence. Despite these efforts, certain clues remained, including distinctive footprints that could potentially lead them to the perpetrator or perpetrators. The chaotic nature of the scene suggested a violent struggle, compelling detectives to reconstruct the timeline of events that had culminated in this tragic outcome. Every detail, no matter how small, was crucial in piecing together the narrative of that fateful night. Security camera footage from the lobby of Teklemariam's apartment building emerged as a critical piece of evidence in the investigation. Over the days leading up to his murder, the recordings captured two individuals present in the building on the night of the incident, just hours before Fasil's body was discovered. Among them were Tiffany Gray and her accomplice, 19-year-old Audrey Miller, who were seen returning to the building on April 3rd at approximately 2 a.m. Their actions suggested a sinister motive, as they entered the premises carrying bags and boxes, later seen exiting with various items belonging to Fasil. This behavior pointed to premeditated theft, raising alarms about their intentions and the nature of their relationship with the victim. The surveillance stills depicted masked figures in hooded sweatshirts, their identities hidden as they made off with Fasil's possessions. This footage prompted detectives to delve deeper into the backgrounds of Tiffany and Audrey, unraveling a troubling narrative that contradicted the image of a straightforward arrangement between Fasil and Tiffany. Investigators soon uncovered that Tiffany and Audrey had allegedly exploited the trust Fasil placed in them. Disturbingly, they used Fasil's severed thumb to gain access to his financial accounts, extracting funds for personal indulgences such as Uber rides, marijuana, and alcohol. This chilling act of betrayal underscored the lengths to which they were willing to go to benefit from Fasil's generosity. On June 21, 2024, law enforcement made a significant breakthrough in the investigation of Fasil Teklemariam's brutal murder with the arrest of Audrey Miller. Charged with first-degree murder and armed felony murder, Miller now faces serious legal repercussions and is currently in custody, awaiting a preliminary hearing. This development underscored the severity of the crime and the violent nature of the events that led to Fasil's tragic demise. As investigators pieced together the details of the case, it became evident that Audrey's involvement was part of a calculated plan, raising questions about the deeper motives at play. Just weeks later, on July 1st, authorities apprehended Tiffany Gray in Prince George's County based on a warrant for her arrest, also charging her with first-degree murder and armed felony murder. The quick action taken by law enforcement highlighted their commitment to ensuring that those responsible for Fasil's death face justice. As the investigation progressed, it was revealed that the motives behind the murder were a disturbing combination of financial gain and personal vendetta. This unsettling motive suggested a level of premeditation that painted a chilling picture of the relationships between Fasil and the suspects. Tiffany's arrest in Prince George's County marked a crucial moment in the investigation. Once extradited to Washington, D.C., she will face serious charges that could result in severe penalties. The decision to pursue first-degree murder charges against both women indicated that authorities believed they had meticulously planned their actions, viewing Fasil not merely as a companion, but as a target for their ruthless schemes. What are your thoughts about these tragic stories? Please share your thoughts in the comments down below. Remember, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on all notifications so that you will not miss upcoming episodes. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I will see you on another episode of Urban Crime Stories.